your grade 9 checklist to include in your GCSE French or language writing exam. In this video, we are going to look at 20 different aspects you should include to get a grade 9. So here are the 20 different aspects that I've listed. Personally, when I followed these a couple of years ago, I got a grade 9 in GCSE French. That's why I'm advising you to do the same thing. Now, in gold are tenses and in pink are techniques. And for tenses, in order to pass or get a grade 9, you need to include basic past, present and future in your writing. So using multiple tenses for past, present and future, as well as conditional, modal, reflexive, etc., will definitely solidify your grades 7 to 6. Techniques, these will be the ones that actually help to elevate you to those grades of 8 and 9. So you basically need to have a strong foundation in tenses and top it off with some good techniques. So let's begin by looking at the first one, including other pronouns except je. Now this mistake is not quite as made obvious to students as it needs to be. You can't just talk about yourself. In order to show range, you need to talk about all of the different plural, even if it's singular but other ones like you. And as you can see in this list here, they're quite visible, all of the different ones that you can include. Present. So present tense is quite an obvious one. You'll probably naturally start speaking in present, so it's not much to go over here. Just remember the specific endings for er, ir, re, as well as irregular verbs. Present participle. Now, this may be a tense that you've never even heard of. So this is the English equivalent to ing verbs. For example, I am doing or taking or seeing. Instead of ing, it's ant. And here are some examples. So what you have to do is take the new form of the verb, take away ons and add ant. Then, for example, when you say en parlant, that's speaking, and then you can talk about other things. It's quite a unique one, and it would definitely show the examiner your skill range. You can do more research on this if this wasn't clear. Perfect. Now this is again another one. This is probably the past tense go-to that many students use. I've put some examples here, and there's a little matching up task that you can do. So match the numbers 1 to 10 to the letters A to J. And it's basically the pronoun plus the auxiliary, and the auxiliary is either avoir, which is in this case est, or être, so suis. Imperfect. So the imperfect past tense is something that a lot of people get confused on, but you definitely shouldn't. So what you do is you remove the ons ending from the new form, and then you add the endings that are shown in the orange column. So you have AIS, AIS, AIT, EONS, ES, and AIENT. And they've given you examples of parlons, finissons, être, and that is exactly what you do. And it's basically describing a past that you used to do, or just showing a different bit of range instead of constantly using perfect tense. The immediate future. So immediate future is where you say je vais plus an infinitive, and it's actually quite similar to what we do in English, because we say I'm going to see the movies. It's the same in French. It would be je vais voir le cinéma. So it would be pronoun plus aller conjugated, so vais, va, allons, allez, vont, plus the infinitive of whatever you're going to do. You can also replace the verb aller with different other verbs to kind of change it up a bit. Now let's look at the distant future. So immediate future was going to, distant future is I will or you will. And you can see here it is basically the infinitive plus the tailored endings. Conditional. Now conditional is a very high level tense, and in order to form the conditional you use the full infinitive infinitive, sorry. But you take the E of for RE verbs, and then you add the endings which are shown in the table here. As you can quite see, all the endings seem to be quite similar, so that kind of helps you with your learning a little bit, and especially with speaking, then you can find it easy to sort of form the conditional in your mind. So if you wanted to do an example for conditional, you could say, if you want to say I would eat, it would be je mangerai, with the ending being AIS on top of the infinitive manger. Let's look at pluperfect. Pluperfect is another tense many students don't even learn sometimes in some schools, but it's a very valuable tense. It's basically the past of the past. So say if you were talking about something you did yesterday, and then you want to progress to talking about something you did last year, you would then use the pluperfect tense. So what you have to do is you have to form the imperfect of avoir or être, which is either, j'avais, avait, or j'étais, and then you use a past participle, which is jouer or fini. So same as the perfect, the past participle is there as well. You use the same past participle, but instead of using the auxiliary, you just use the imperfect of avoir or être. Finally, subjunctive. So subjunctive phrases are basically phrases that use the word que, like that, and it's quite an important thing to use in terms of comparing things, in terms of saying it is possible that, it is good that, it is this, that, and it's quite reflective to the examiner of your skills. Now we're going to look at the other side, so superlatives. Superlatives allow you to compare something. So you could say it's more, so a person is more rich than someone else, or a person is less rich than someone else. And for more, it's plus, and for less, it's moins. Now, to compare different things, to compare like John is taller than Mark, you would say Jean est plus grand que Marc. And the same thing applies. And to form the superlative for adjectives and adverbs, you just have to make sure you use the article le, la, or le beforehand. Reflexive. So reflexive is those verbs that you just see the S apostrophe when you're talking to them. So, for example, je se lève, which is I wake up, or I get up, sorry. And these are just specific verbs that you just have to remember, but they're quite good if you actually use them within your writing. Now, on the left corner, you can see me, te, se, nous, vous, ce, and that's the in-between words. These are the actual reflexive parts, and then you just put the verb next to it. And reflexive are normally verbs that you do to yourself, like you're waking yourself up, you're falling asleep yourself, you are getting married, and all of those sort of things. And it would be in the table below, there's loads more verbs that you can use, and it would be really excellent if you were even able to use a reflexive in not just present but past and future. That would demonstrate skill, and that is definitely a grade 9 requirement. Modal verbs, I'm pretty sure you've heard of these. I could, I would, I should, and here I have 4 examples. So pouvoir, which is can, vouloir, which is to want, and then also devoir and savoir. And these are quite good. It's quite a different way of talking about things. Rather than just using normal, regular and irregular verbs, this is just another kind of verb to use. Imperatives. So imperatives are what you may have known in primary school as bossy verbs, and it's just instructing people. So what you do is you take the infinitive of the verb, then you put it into present tense new form, and then you just take away the pronoun before that. So for example, danseur, you put nous dansons, because that's the new present form, and then you just take away nous and put dansons, which means let's dance. The C clause is another really fantastic technique that would be great if you were to use. It's si means if, and it's such a fantastic technique because you're not only using this perfect structure, you're using the imperfect tense as well as the conditional. That's 2 tenses and 1 amazing structure. So if you wanted to say, so I've been through the imperfect if you just want to go back to that. The imperfect, which would just be si j'étais, and then if you wanted to say adjective, si j'étais riche, I would visit. We've also been through the conditional, so je visiterai le sud de la France. That's a really good example, and it's really valuable to know this. Avant de and venir de. So I couldn't find any pictures online, so I just explained it here myself. So avant de means before doing, and venir de means coming from. So I've given an example here. It's a good structure because it's not the classic pronoun plus verb. It's more of a phrase and then the infinitive. So I said avant de manger, which means before eating, j'aime prier. I like to pray. Sorry, not eat. I like to pray. The next technique is il faut or il est interdit de. Now, il faut means you must, and then you follow it by the infinitive, and il est interdit de means it is forbidden to, and you also follow that by the infinitive. Now, for example, il faut respecter les autres, which means you must respect others, or il est interdit de mâcher de chewing gum, it is forbidden to chew gum. Now, let me just tell you, this is a really good phrase to use in your module 6 because that's all about school rules, and you can talk a lot about what's forbidden, what's not allowed, what you must do. Now, DOP, which is direct object pronouns. Now, it's the same as English because if you just kept repeating a name, it would sound creepy. For example, Veronica is my friend. Veronica likes to do sports. Veronica is etc. So you would just replace Veronica with her. And French do the same, and it's called DOP. And as you can see, you have me, te, le, la, nous, vous, le. And actually, you can use this in the past tense, which will be even more amazing. And in the past tense, you put the direct object pronoun before the auxiliary. And if you wanted to say, I took the photos, or I took them, you would just be like, je l'ai prise. Or did you pay the bill? Instead of saying, tu as payé la facture, you can say, tu l'as payé. It's just a quicker and easier way, and sort of a shortcut for French people, and it's a good way to express your knowledge for us. Stressed pronouns. Now, this may not be a fully writing technique. I mean, of course you can use it, but it would probably be more valuable in speaking context, and it's just when you put emphasis on yourself, and we do this in English as well. You say, who, me? So you could say like, moi, toi, lui, elle, nous, vous, eux, elle. And yeah, it just puts emphasis on a certain group of people. And finally, demonstrative pronouns, which is stuff like celui-ci, celui-là, ceux-ci, celle-là. And this is quite an interesting technique because not many students use it, so you would be quite unique when you use this one. If you have any questions on French or any of my other subjects, feel free to comment down below. Thank you for watching and hopefully see you soon.